She was the most hated woman in France, mocked in pamphlets, blamed for a starving nation, despised by millions. History remembers her as the queen who said, "Let them eat cake." The problem? She almost certainly never said it. And that's not even the most dangerous lie told about her. In 1755, a child was born in Vienna who would never truly belong anywhere. Marie Antoinette, youngest daughter of Empress Maria Theresa of Austria, raised in palaces, yes, but also raised as a political instrument. By the time she was 10 years old, her future had already been decided for her. She would marry the heir to the French throne, not because anyone asked her, but because two empires needed an alliance. And she was the price. At 14, she crossed the border from Austria into France. And here's where it gets strange. At that border, she was made to remove every single item of clothing she wore, every piece of jewelry, every thread from her home country. Because France didn't want the Austrian girl. They wanted a French queen. She arrived in Versailles with a new name, Marie Antoinette, and nothing else she recognized. She was 15 when she married Louis XVI, 16 when she became Queen of France, and she had absolutely no idea what was coming. Here's what most people don't realize about Versailles. It wasn't a palace, it was a trap. Every move Marie Antoinette made was watched, analyzed, judged. She couldn't eat a meal, wake up, or get dressed without an audience of courtiers observing every detail. So what did she do? She escaped, the only way she could. Parties, fashion, gambling. Her famous retreat, the Petit Trianon, a small palace within the palace grounds where she could finally breathe. And the court watched, and whispered, and wrote it down. But here's the open question nobody asks. Who was writing? Because by the 1780s, France was in crisis. The country was nearly bankrupt, not from Marie Antoinette's spending, which was real but relatively minor, but from decades of war debt, including French support for the American Revolution. Someone needed to be blamed, and a foreign-born queen who threw parties. Perfect. The pamphlets began, and they were vicious. They called her Madame Deficit. They accused her of impossible scandals. They drew cartoons, obscene, degrading, printed and distributed by the thousands. One of the most damaging? The diamond necklace affair of 1785. A con artist forged her signature to steal a 2,800 diamond necklace worth the equivalent of tens of millions today. Marie Antoinette had nothing to do with it. The courts confirmed it. She was innocent. Didn't matter. France had already decided. And the cake quote, the line, "Let them eat cake," or in French, "Qu'ils mangent de la brioche," first appeared in philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau's writings in 1765. Marie Antoinette was 9 years old and still living in Austria. The quote was never attributed to her in any contemporary source. Historians today largely agree it was misattributed, possibly deliberately. But by the time the revolution came, the story was already set. In 1789, the Bastille fell. The French Revolution began, and Marie Antoinette, now 33, watched as the world she knew collapsed entirely. In October of that year, a crowd of thousands marched to Versailles. They broke in. They killed her guards. They demanded the royal family come to Paris. She stood on a balcony, alone, facing the crowd. Thousands of people shouting for her death. She bowed her head slowly and stepped back inside. The crowd, stunned by the gesture, briefly fell silent. For 2 years, the royal family lived under house arrest in Paris. Marie Antoinette wrote desperate letters to foreign courts begging for help. She watched her husband become increasingly paralyzed by indecision. She became, by most historical accounts, the stronger political mind of the two. And that only made her more dangerous to the revolutionaries. In 1792, the monarchy was abolished. Louis XVI was executed in January 1793. Marie Antoinette was put on trial 8 months later. The charges included treason, and worse. Accusations so grotesque, so false, that even some revolutionary leaders were uncomfortable with them. When confronted with the most vile accusation in court, she turned to the audience and said, "Nature itself recoils at such a charge laid against a mother." The room went quiet. On October 16, 1793, she was taken through the streets of Paris on an open cart, not a carriage like her husband had received, but a cart meant to humiliate. She had cut her hair herself that morning so it wouldn't interfere with the blade. She wore a simple white dress. When she accidentally stepped on her executioner's foot, she said, "Pardon me, sir, I did not do it on purpose." Her last words were reported as, "Farewell, my children, I go to your father." She was 37 years old. History needed a villain. She was just a girl who never got to choose her story.